Hi everyone, it's Erin from the Provincial Farmhouse. In today's video, I'm going to be creating a vintage Christmas door hanger using the new IOD holiday release. This video is also part of the IOD holiday playlist, so make sure you check out that playlist link in the description below. For my project today, I'm going to be using this 45 centimeter in diameter wood round and IOD's new Santa's Sleigh mold. I'm going to dust the sleigh first with cornstarch. This is going to help my air dry clay release. I'm then going to start pressing my air dry clay into the mold, just using my fingers to push it. The micro rim around the edge definitely makes getting a clean edge a lot easier. You could use resin for this part if you wanted. IOD do include measurements next to each of the designs on their molds, so that definitely makes it a lot easier to work out how much you're going to need. I'm then going to flex the mold, then flip it over and start pulling it out. And I'm rolling that mold backwards as it is releasing. I'm then going to dust the reindeer from that mold with some cornstarch, and then I'm going to start pressing my clay into it. Now this one is a little bit more intricate. I did end up having one of his little legs break off. If you're having trouble getting it released, I have heard it recommended that you put your mold in the freezer for about 10 minutes, and that makes it easier to get your clay out. I'm then going to flex the mold, and just like I did before, I'm going to flip it over and start pulling it out. And as I said, I did have a little bit of breakage, but I was able to pretty easily put him back together. I'm then going to be using IOD's new Bibelots Mould. These are some beautiful ornament blanks. You can build on these, add molds, stamps, transfers. Today I'm going to be using them with clay, so I'm going to dust the mold with cornstarch, and then I'm going to start working the clay in, again using my fingers to push that excess clay out, using that micro rim as a guide, and then I will flex that mold and carefully pull the design out. I ended up casting 8 of the round designs, and I wanted to make it look like a shiny bright ornament. So I'm using an attachment from my drill, and it has sort of like a star shape, and then I'm using the end of the attachment as well to press into the clay. I thought this would be a really fun thing to try, to see if I could try and replicate that look, and I think I did pretty well considering we're working with clay and a drill bit essentially. So just having a play with that, and then I also changed over to a Phillips head drill bit, and I'm using that to sort of extend that design out. I ended up doing this to 3 of them. I then cast some of this other ornament design. I ended up casting, I think it was about 6 of these. So I definitely did a bulk amount of casting because I'm basically creating the look of a wreath essentially. So I definitely needed quite a few of them. I didn't do as many of these sort of almost light globe style ornaments here. I'm going to layer those in, but they are a little bit smaller. So if you're going to be doing this, as you can see, I've cast a lot. Resin might be easier for you, but it would be a lot of resin. Here I'm just sort of working out the arrangement. I'm going to have them going in different directions, sort of alternating which direction they're going. I'm going to have some overlapping the other. My inspiration for this was sort of like a retro Christmas wreath. So very colourful, lots of ornaments, a couple of shiny brights in there, and definitely a little bit kitschy. That was definitely the theme for this year, and I definitely challenged myself a little bit with using a bit more colour. So just working out the layout here, and then I did take a photo of that as well to help me, and then I started casting some of the presents mould from the Santa sleigh. I love that they've included these. I can see these being used with maybe even cookies or chocolates. I could see them being used maybe even to make festive jewelry. So many possibilities because there's so many different shapes and sizes. So I ended up casting a bunch of those, and I'm going to be layering those over the top of the ornaments. And then I took out IOD's Classic Elements mold, and I'm going to be casting the beaded trim design. I ended up casting quite a few of these because I'm going to be sort of weaving them in and out of my wreath design. They reminded me of a beaded garland, so I thought this was absolutely perfect for my craft. So just sort of winding them in and out, they're different lengths. layering them over different sections, adding in a few more presents. And then I took out, this is a retired mold. This is the Jingle mold. It's from, I believe, 2 releases ago. I didn't want to show you something that you can't get anymore, but they were just too adorable not to include. And if you are somebody who has loved IOD for a long time, I wanted to show you how you can use the other designs as well. So now I am starting to glue my castings down with my Celia's Quickset wood glue. As I said before, I did take a photo of the layout so that as I was taking things off, I was able to then reposition them in the same way, because I'm doing a lot of layers here and I want to make sure that I get it looking exactly the way that I want. So definitely do that if you are doing a similar project. I then took out my Simply White chalk paint by Paint Couture, and I'm going to paint the entire piece with 2 coats of this. Now my castings have been drying for a couple of hours, so I do still have to be a little bit gentle with them. If you would like to get any of the new IOD holiday release products used in this video and you're in Australia, make sure you check out my website, theprovincialfarmhouse.com.au. Make sure you're getting quick though, these are limited release. I let this dry for several hours, and then I came in with Paint Couture's Ballet Slipper Luxe Metallic. I am going to be applying 2 coats of this on this ornament, and I think I ended up doing another 3, just sort of spacing them out. I definitely went with the metallics because they reminded me of the shine on Christmas ornaments, and as I said before, I was going for quite a colourful Christmas look here. I then took out Paint Couture's Sky Blue Luxe Metallic. Again, I did 2 coats of this one, and definitely keeping the shiny look here. I don't want it to look matte at all. We're going for a very festive, very kitschy look. Then took out Rose Gold Luxe Metallic. Now later on, I did actually end up going over the top of this because once I had added all of the colors, it just felt a little bit too dark to go with the look that I was trying to achieve, but it is still a beautiful color. Then I used Meadow Luxe Metallic, and as I was applying this, it was a little bit darker than I wanted. I probably should have used Paint Couture's Coastal Breeze, but I did not have that on me, so once I had added this, I did take out Oyster Pearl Luxe Metallic, and I used that to lighten up the color. So I'm just putting on some of that Oyster Pearl over the top of my still wet Meadow Luxe Metallic. And I really love the more pastel green that this created. I'm going to repeat this on another ornament as well. If you're going to give this project a go, obviously you don't have to use these colors. This was just the look I was going for. You could definitely be more traditional. It's up to you. I then started speeding up some of the footage, especially when I was repeating the same use of the colors. And then I took out Paint Couture's Stardust Heavy Metal Metallic paint. I'm going to be painting a couple of the ornaments in this beautiful metallic. And then I did also decide to add it to some of the faux shiny bright style ornaments that I created. And these have a lot more shine. These heavy metal metallics, they are a lot more sort of luminous than the Luxe Metallics. So I really felt like they were perfect for this project. I'm also going to be using the Stardust for the center part of our faux shiny bright ornaments. I definitely felt like they gave quite a reflective look, so they were perfect for that. Once the Stardust was dry, I took out Oyster Pearl Luxe Metallic, and I'm going to add that to one of the ornaments on the bottom left-hand side there. And then I'm going to use French Gold Heavy Metal Metallic on the ornament nearby. This is a very sort of pale gold, I would say, and again very, very shiny because it does have those extra metal particles in it. I'm going to be adding this to this particular ornament, and I also added it on another one up the top of the wreath there. I then started adding some vintage lace luxe metallic to some of the other ornaments. I also added some lilac luxe metallic paint as well to some of the ornaments. For the top parts of the ornaments, I decided to use Silver Ice Luxe Metallic. I thought that it was the perfect silver for this. Definitely reminded me of the ornaments that you can buy in the shops. It was just that sort of muted silver. On the bells from the Jingle mould, I'm using Paint Couture's Bronze Luxe Metallic. On the little presents, I am using Paint Couture's Antique Gold Luxe Metallic, but I'm alternating also and doing every other one in Paint Couture's Stardust Heavy Metal Metallic. I'm also going to be using the Stardust on the little beads that we added. These definitely remind me of the silver beads that I put in my Christmas tree. I definitely love a French country look, so these just worked out perfect for this project. Once I finished adding the Stardust to the beads, I took out Ballet Slipper, and like I said before, I'm going to go over the top of the dry rose gold just to tie it in a little bit more. It just looked a little bit too dark. At this point, I thought I was finished with the outside. I started moving on to the Santa sled, adding some bronze to the bottom part of the sled itself. But I still felt like the outside section needed more. So once I'd finished painting the bronze on the bottom part of the sled, I took out IOD's Oh Christmas Tree mold from last year, and I'm going to cast some of the garlands that came in that mold. Unfortunately, this is a limited edition item, so it might be tricky to get now. And I'm going to start layering those in. You can see I've already made a bunch of them, and then I'm going to start gluing them in place. Now, with some of them, I was able to sort of just drape them over the molds that were already there. With some of the others, however, I decided that once I had them glued on, that I would use a palette knife to cut and sort of trim the design to make it look like the garland was sitting behind the ornament. I sort of just randomly decided when to do this to give it more of a layered look. And I'm definitely glad that I added in these garlands. It definitely gives the wreath a sort of more sort of realistic appearance. It looks more like a wreath. So I'm definitely glad that I did this. And I definitely think even if I had thought of doing this beforehand, I still would have done it in this order because it would have been way too hard to paint those ornaments around the details of the Christmas garland. So it was definitely the right choice overall. Once I had everything glued in place, I ended up giving them about, I think it was about 2 hours to dry. And then I'm going to be using Paint Couture's Autumn Sage chalk paint. And I'm not going to be using much. I'm just dabbing some of it onto the garland, being careful not to get anything else around it because I want these to look like a snowy garland. So we're not going to see much of the green tone anyway. So I'm just laying down some of that and then I let that dry. And then once I'd done that, I came in with a fan brush with some Simply White chalk paint and I'm dry brushing over the top of our dry Autumn Sage, and I think this just created a really convincing snowy garland look. Definitely loving this. I definitely feel like this goes with the overall color scheme that I already have in place. I then moved on to working on Santa's sleigh, adding that bronze to the rest of the sleigh design. I ended up doing 2 coats of the bronze. Now, IOD have incorporated some beautiful designs into the sleigh itself, but because I've got so much going on with the rest of the project, I decided to leave it. Once I finished with the sleigh, I used a smaller brush to add some of that bronze on the reindeer just to tie the reindeer with the sleigh a bit better. So just adding a little bit of that, not too much. Again, because I have so much going on with the rest of the project, I wanted to keep everything else a bit more neutral. So I then took out Paint Couture's Light Brown Sugar Glaze and I'm going to add that just to Santa. And then I'm going to use a wet wipe to pull some of it back. We're not going for grunge. What I want here is just to bring attention to the details of these molds. So we don't want to grunge it up. We don't want it to look old and weathered this time. What I want is to highlight those details and show that definition. So I am working in small sections here, and then I'm going to use that wet wipe to pull most of it back. I then repeated the same process on the presents. Once I was finished with that, I decided to take my brush and sort of make a bit of a halo around the sleigh and the reindeer so that it almost looked like it had a little bit of a glow. I really liked the look that this achieved. And again, we're not going for an aged look. I just wanted to have a bit more definition, and I really like how this ends up looking. Next, I'm going to use this Merry Christmas stencil that I had in my stash, and I'm going to be using Bronze Luxe Metallic by Paint Couture, and I'm going over the top of the word Christmas first. I've got that position down below because I'm going to have the word Merry above it, so I had to sort of improvise here to get it in the layout that I wanted. I ended up doing 2 coats for this, and then I decided to go in with a smaller paintbrush to join the lines together to make it look less like a stencil. I'll be repeating the same process for the word Merry as well. Now, you could definitely use IOD stamps for this part of your project. I just had a very particular size and look in mind that I wanted to keep with, so I went with this stencil, but stamps would definitely look amazing as well. So as you can see, I'm just going in and adding little lines of that bronze in the gaps that were left by the stencil, and this definitely makes it look more like it's a hand painted look. I dried that off and then repositioned the stencil so that Merry was above the word Christmas, and I just repeated the same process as we did with the first word. Next, I took out some stick-on pearls that I had in my stash, and I'm going to use that to create the reins for our reindeer. So I'm just sticking them on the reindeer. They've already got adhesive on the backing, putting it on the reindeer, and then sort of sticking it on each of the different sections until we get up to Santa's hand. Then I'm going to cut that off, and I'm going to use the off-cut part to show the reins as they would be on the other side. Next, I took out Paint Couture's Crackle Step 1. I'm going to be using this like a glue, so I'm going to be adding it to the center of our faux shiny bright ornaments, also in some of the gaps as well. And I'm going to be using Paint Couture's Pure Silver German Glass Glitter, and I'm going to be putting that in the sections where I've added the crackle. I did let the Crackle Step 1 dry for about 30 minutes. It then becomes sticky to the touch, so it's able to hold on to that glitter. I'm then going to add Sheer Frost German Glass Glitter in any of the sections that have sort of like a gap that I've added the Crackle Step 1, and this will just give it a really, really subtle shine. When I was finished, I sealed the entire project with a spray gloss sealer. And here's our finished Christmas door hanger. I had so much fun creating with the new IOD holiday molds, and it was fun to step outside of my comfort zone and try something a bit different. Let me know what you think of today's project in the comments. If you enjoyed today's video, I would really appreciate it if you would hit that like button, comment, and share it out. Remember to check out the other videos in IOD's holiday release playlist. And if you haven't already, I would love it if you would hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you don't miss out on any of our videos. You can find the products used today on our website, theprovincialfarmhouse.com.au. Thanks for watching.